tuned into another episode of Chestnut Checkers. Make your next move your best move. I got a good man with me here today, Joe Posey.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Cold legend, man. How you feeling today? What's up?
I'm good, man. Life is good. Kids are good. Just kind of, adjusting to life after basketball and still loving the game, but still being involved without playing, whether it's coaching, training, mentoring, all of that kind of stuff, but just kind of getting into other stuff, whether it's business, financial literacy, like all of that kind of things. Things that kind of push us into that grown man space, right? So I'm really just still continuing on my journey, man, learning, just trying to be better.
Yeah, man. That's what's that. So for the people who don't know, let them know where you come from. You know what I'm saying? Where you from?
Where I'm from, all right. So it depends on how far you want to go back. Originally, if you really know me, and you trace it all the way back, you'll find the first roots in Southeast DC, which is kind of crazy. I'm a country boy at heart. My mom moved me here when I was, I think, like 6 or 7. Started kindergarten and all that stuff. So I'm from Colonial Beach. I'm from Oak Grove. I'm from that same place with the one stoplight, and it used to be no stoplight. That stop in or shell, whatever you want to call it. If you're an old head from around here, you call it Little Sue, right? Still, so that's where I'm from, and that's where my roots are.
Yeah, that's what's up. So when did you find, in those 6 years, did you love basketball at that point? Like when did you first get the ball? For people don't know, man, this man is a cold legend around here, this area. Colonial Beach, King George, Fredericksburg, down the Westmoreland County,
Yeah.
Tab, the whole area, the northern neck, I'd say. You know what I'm saying? But so when did you find the love for the game?
I think the love for the game came around like 8 or 9. They used to take a bus of kids. Coach Swope used to take a bunch of kids up to JMU in the summertime for camp. And I think the first summer I went, I don't even think I was old enough to go. I think my mother lied on my little application thing and let me go. But I think basketball was introduced when I was real young, like 3, 4. Even on like my birthday cakes and stuff like that, I was always around it. I remember me and my brother going to like a Harlem Globetrotter game, and we was like 3 or 4 years old, and like I'll never forget that. And I'm on the other side of 35 at this point, but I remember that like real vividly. So just kind of honing it there. So I went to camp there at JMU from the time I was 8 until I think I was like 16. So I went from being a kid who was new to basketball, and I think, my last year there, 16, 17 years old, I was like a Virginia State like ranked kid, like something that they really wasn't used to. So it was good, and it helped me, get scholarship offers and all of that real early. I think they offered me a scholarship when I was like 15.
Dang.
15, 16 years old.
And you was playing for, who was you playing for at that time?
So
Which school?
At that time, I was 16. So at that time, I was going to Notre Dame Academy, leaving King George. So it was that summer before. So I remember talking to Sherman Dillard was a coach at the time. And he was like, I know you're starting to get recruited and stuff like that, and I just want you to know you can always come here. And I'm like, really? Like, that was my first. I didn't know how it go, if it was like a paper, if it was like formal, whatever. So when he said that, I was like, all right. I had this goal list as a kid. I was like, my mom ain't gonna have to pay for college, right? So I'm like, no matter where I go, I know I got that box checked, so I'm good. And it helped me, like throughout high school to not play with like that pressure, because I knew if it came down to it, I knew I had somewhere to go.
You had a fallback plan.
Yeah.
So King George, that's when you first started getting looks. King George
was the first look. So I played, my first shot at AAU was this local team out in Spotsylvania called like the Spotsylvania Cagers. So it was like a couple dudes I was friends with out of Fredericksburg. We played like at local tournaments and stuff like that. Harvey Thomas, actually out of Fredericksburg, told the Richmond Squires about me.
Harvey Thomas, he a hooper.
Yeah, like so, my brother's side, Justin Anderson's side, like I love those guys. To me, Harv was like the one.
I saw him one time. He definitely was definitely a standout. I forgot which game or event it was, but I remember him.
And I say that because even if you look at it, you take a collection of best players that's ever been around this area, and look at everything they have, like the same, similar height to Chris, similar length, similar body type, but had a jump shot, could do all that stuff, could pass, like was real rugged on defense, like was a competitor, like a gladiator type dude. Like he just had a different feel. He had all of it.
Yeah.
Where if you look at, different guys, myself being more of a shooter, Chris has kind of evolved as we've gotten older, but he had that like all at one time. And obviously, guys like Justin being the guy who did it the way that we all like dreamed to do it. Like I'm gonna get drafted, I'm gonna go to the ACC school, I'm gonna do all of that.
Justin,
he did it like
Justin Anderson.
He did it like he did it like the textbook way, right? The way that you envision it. And he's still going too. So I love all of those guys in terms of just their grind and knowing how hard it is to get to certain levels. So It don't matter whether you played in the NBA or whether you didn't, or whether you played in college and it didn't work out. Like it take a lot to get to the college point, to the point where people even having a conversation about you. So that's to be celebrated for sure.
Right. So you went to King George High School for how many years?
2
years.
2 years there.
What did you do there? Like, what if you could be defined as a player? What type of player was you at King George?
I would say this is 2 stories, right? So my freshman year was like a fill out year, right? I'm learning the game. I'm playing for a defensive coach, but I ain't really a defensive guy.
Who's your coach at that time?
So Eric Davis was my coach, right? So he's played defense. You a guard. You pick up 94 feet. You do all of that stuff. And I'm like, I'm probably not going to do that, right? So like we had a hard time. Now he still tells players stories about trying to get me to take a charge. So my running joke is I got 3 career charges and 2 was on accident, right? So that's not really something that I was really interested in. But he did that to make me get used to contact and stuff like that, and just sacrificing for the team and stuff that you don't really understand when you're 14, 15 years old. You like, nah. So he lined the biggest guys up on the team, and these guys, we in high school, and they still 200-something pounds. I'm like 140 at the time.
Right.
And just let them take turns running me over. And I kept moving. Like the first couple of times they got close, I just moved.
So you ain't like
yeah, you got to take it. So I didn't want to take it. I don't mind getting hit because I'm about to shoot free throws on the offensive end. But defensively, I think he challenged me. And I will say that I do kind of wish I got to play for him at the higher level in high school, because I feel like I would have been a better defender at the college level and after had I played for him the whole time.
Right. So what made you leave? Like
exposure,
right?
So we got this stigma that you from a small town, you can't get seen and things like that. And nobody had ever from here. Obviously, Harv had did it out in Fredericksburg, but nobody from Colonial Beach, Westmoreland, whatever, had ever been in some of the spaces that I wanted to go. So I started playing AU with the Squires, and they started, talking about prep schools and taking me on these national tournaments and things like that. And I'm like, I want to be seen, and I want to play in front of scouts every night, and I want to do all of that stuff. So when the opportunity came, it was tough, but I felt like that was the right move.
So how did your teammates at the time feel about that? Did the guys feel like, damn, Joe, how you gonna leave us? How you gonna do us like that? We supposed to be a team.
Yeah, so it was twofold, right? I think it was some who were looking for bigger roles, who was probably glad that I wasn't there,
gone.
right?
Yeah.
And then those that I was close to and knew that I kind of probably gave us a better chance to win the state championships and stuff like that. It was like, I wish you had stayed. But for me, I think they understood too. There was how it is when you're young. There's a certain level of jealousy too, right? So that's why I say it's 2 different stories, because my sophomore year, I'm a little bit different. My game is different. The Freelance Star run this big article, and it's like me on the front, and it's this picture. I think my mom still has this. The picture's dope. Like, I still like it to this day, but like, the dudes, they walk in the gym for practice, and I'm in there doing like a photo shoot.
Right.
So the whole temperature of the thing like changed. And I got my first college letter from UNC like the same day. So they talked about it, and I think guys are just kind of figuring out, like, we ain't never seen this before. He on our team, and so some embraced it and some didn't. You got guys on that team. You got Jamon Bushrod was on that team. Right. So he wasn't a basketball player, so it didn't bother him. He was a football guy. I think he played baseball too. Some of the other guys, Carlos Allen, D.D. Boxley, who played football at JMU, so he was.
I heard D.D. Boxley was like, the real deal. Like,
he was just an overall
football
athlete. Yeah, football, track, all of that. So I played with a bunch of good athletes. So you know, for the most part, it was love, and guys kind of understood because they had similar dreams, but you also had some that wasn't so happy about it. So
I understand that. So staying in your childhood, like, how was your childhood like growing up? Like, how was your house? You had your mother and
so early on, it was just me and my mom, right? Obviously, you know, my dad had some back and forth. He was in and out. I don't want to say he was like totally absent, like I didn't know who he was or nothing like that, but he had his own struggles and stuff that he was dealing with too. So I think that kind of took it away. I think he always had the heart to be there, even when he wasn't. So that took place. It started in D.C. We moved out here. My mom met my stepdad. I met him when I was like 3 or 4, but I don't think they got married until I was like 10.
right?
In and out of that situation. So he's been around the entire time.
How did you feel about him at first? Was you like the son? Like,
Yeah, so he
messing
tells
with
the
my
story.
mom?
I don't
want you
remember
messing-
it, but he tells this story of like the first time I see him, see him in the house. I just walk up to him. He was like, "Man, you remember the first time you saw me? What you did?" I was like, "Nah." He like, "Man, you punched me in my stomach so hard and just ran." I'm like, and he still tell that story all the time, like he still remember it. And I'm like, I was 3, I don't remember that. But just having him around and just picking this soaking up game, right? So as a kid, whether it's music, whether it's athletes, whether it's coaches, whatever, you looking for somebody to emulate or learn life lessons
Male
from.
figure.
Exactly, right? So if you out there and you see a bunch of street stuff, you tend to gravitate to it. If you see a guy in the house and he get money but he not really active, you probably gonna be a little bit like that, right? And you don't realize the lessons that you picking up until you get older. Until I had kids of my own, I'm like, yeah, I'll provide for them, I do stuff for them, but if I'm out here playing basketball, if I'm doing whatever, am I really being a father, or if I'm just buying stuff, right? You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's a little bit of all of that.
So you accepted him over time.
I accepted him over time,
man.
We had that, that father and son like riff when I was like 16, 17. I'm getting a little bit bigger. I'm a little taller. I'm 6'4".
So you thought you could whoop him at that
yeah,
point?
like George said,
You ain't my dad.
Like, yeah,
you was on your Will Smith.
Yeah, you can't keep raising your voice at me, dude. Like I'm bigger than you, type thing, right? But it's you go through that, and then like now, our conversations are always solid. Always, there's always something to take away from it, whether we talking about, again, like financial planning, or we talking about, hey, I did this when you was younger. If I was you, I would do it this way, or, things like that. And then to me, the acknowledgement go a long way, too. So admitting that you probably ain't do everything the right way, I don't think nobody do. So.
Yeah, nobody do everything the right way. But you're trying to do something, so, that count for something.
Even what they say, slow progress is still progress, right? So,
No question.
As long as you're moving forward.
Yeah, so you were a star in high school and middle school, and through all. And how was the ladies treating you? You had your girl.
I don't want to say too much because my wife gonna see this. Nah,
It's all respect, wife. I don't want no smoke.
She know. She
know.
So I say that I'll say this. It's a gift and a curse, right? So. You start to get a little bit more attention. So you don't know if they like you for you, or where they think you going, or
was you even thinking about that at that time? Like thinking about like she just like me because I'm.
Nah, but I think I did. But I think at the time you don't care.
You don't care.
You like, nah, I like her. I don't care if she cared. Like if I had 30 and that's what made her talk to me, bet. Right. Or if she like, if I got class with her and she need, oh, he actually kind of smart. Like, cool. If that's what made you do it, or you think I'm cute, whatever it is, any of the three, well, you might just like me because I'm tall. Cool, I'm cool with that too. Right? Yeah. So I think at that age, you don't really care. You just kind of like what you like. You usually got a type. I used to have.
What's your type, bro?
I used to have a crush on Alicia Keys when I was young.
Me
right?
too.
Right.
She's spoken for.
So if you was light skinned and had long hair, you probably could get a conversation with no problem. And there was a couple others too. So I had a few different types, but just friendships and stuff like that kind of evolved. But yeah, it's the lady thing. It got a little worse in college and things like that too. But you build habits that you don't realize that you're doing, right? So. And I'll be candid about it. Like even me and my wife have conversations now about like how to navigate life, right? Or how to make sure that she's always comfortable with whatever I got going on, because you don't realize if you running women at 15, You doing it at 20, you doing it at 25, you probably gonna do it at 30.
Right.
Until you make a decision. Like, you know, and again, like I was married one time before. I got married to try to stop doing what I was doing.
This your second marriage?
Right.
Yeah.
So, and my first one lasted not even like a year, right? Because I just wasn't ready. I did it because I thought, well, if I'm ready to stop running the streets, that's what you're supposed to do.
You thought that was gonna do it.
Yeah,
You thought that was gonna make you stop.
Exactly. But that wasn't it. So like you gotta come having a tough conversation. Like, look, this ain't gonna work because I'm still me.
You
like,
still you. Yeah.
This ain't gonna work. And that's a tough one. But this situation, I won't say it's been seamless. It's been seamless in that aspect. But there's a little bit of dying itself to happen when you get married and some compromise. And I hate the phrase the happy wife, happy life. I hate that.
Yeah.
You know, I say, you know, happy spouse, happy house, right? So both, I got to be happy, she got to be happy too, right? And happy is not like the feeling happy. It's like you got to be building and growing and evolving together. Not like happy. You could be happy 1 second and something go left and that go away, right? So
And nigga had nothing to do with your wife.
yeah, exactly. So I don't like the happiness term. It's got to be relative.
Right. So what makes you like? I don't know. I'm not married. What makes you? What brings you to that point to say I want to spend the rest of my life every day, every second like this is it. I want to die. I want her to wipe me.
Yeah. I mean, if we being real, I mean, we on a podcast, we have a real conversation, right? Most, especially as men, you think about what you're giving up, right? Like if I go to this place, I gotta tell this place. And that was the hardest thing for me, like having somebody ask me
you in check
where I'm
all
going,
times.
what you doing, what time you coming back, and I'm like, it don't work like that. I don't work for you, right? So that, like in my first situation, like that's how I approached everything, every conversation. Like
like who calling your phone?
Yeah,
like,
you can't ask me that.
Phone?
Like
why
at
you
the time
walking?
I'm still thinking about going back overseas. I'm doing so. I would be at the gym sometime, even like after work or something like that, for 4 or 5 hours at a time.
And you a star, so your ego.
So then I'm like, I don't need nobody
you
checking me. Like if you ain't Debbie, you can't check me. Like that's my mama. Like you can't ask me that, right? But now it's for this is like and I'll tell a quick story. My wife told us at our wedding too. It was like my wife was my first like everything, like my first kiss, my first that situation, all of that, like, and we know each other like our whole life, right? So then I go to college, she go to college, she go to the military, I'm playing ball, whatever. We both have separate lives, and we kind of just rekindled it a little bit. But she tried at like every stage of life, like 15, 18, 20, like, yo, I think we supposed to be together. I think I'm like, nah.
She knew.
Yeah, but I knew, and I tell her this too, like, I knew what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I ain't really want to do that.
You couldn't treat her right, and you ain't want to do it.
Right? So like, anybody, not saying anybody that said that if I used to date you, don't mean I ain't like you or nothing like that. It's just, I knew what I was going to do. Right? So I think that made it easy. And then just having that mutual respect of like, yo, this is something, we're going to make this commitment to do this. And it might go left sometime. We might fuss, fight, argue, whatever about certain stuff, but it's not going to go past a certain point. And just kind of being committed to it. So it's not easy, but it's doable.
Shout out to the wife, the chosen one, the one that was chosen.
Appreciate you.
God bless you. But shit, back to your your high school career. You left King George, and you went where?
I went to Notre Dame Academy in Middleburg, Virginia. A whole different experience in terms of coaching, in terms of competition. Even just the lifestyle, right? In terms of the kids I was living with. So my first year there, I lived with my coach. So I tell this story too. So it's like 5 of us. We go, we know we going to the school, we moving in with our coach or whatever. So we in West Virginia. We go past the school, we go to Charlestown, West Virginia. We pass in this neighborhood. The neighborhood got like these crazy houses off to the left. We like, okay, we looking at each other in the back of the car. He make a right. As he makes the right, he pull into like a trailer park type situation, like double wide. So we like, and I'm the smallest person on it. Like everybody else is 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", and I'm like, I don't know how we gonna make this work. but we in it. So we trap it out for the year. We just in there, just kind of
Hold on. How many of it was y'all in the trailer?
5 players and our coach.
And his family or just his coach?
It's just my coach. He wasn't married at the time. So at the time, it's
oh yeah, y'all all right.
It's two rooms. So it's the 2 guys from Baltimore. We got it was 3 of us from Virginia. So 2 of us is in one room. Shout out my boy Cavell. We still tight to this day. But I'll talk about that in a second. And then where Gerard is like in the living room, so he's sleeping on like a futon every night. So when we get done looking at TV and stuff like that, he like, yo, I'm trying to go to bed. Y'all gotta get out of my room. We like, yo, this the living room though. so we in there, and we did that for a year. After that, I was kind of I started getting some interest from Virginia Tech. So I'm like, I came here to make be seen. Now I can, if I get an offer, I can go back home. My mom was like, nah. I'm like, Mom, I'm in West Virginia. It's in the middle of nowhere.
You ready to go home?
Yeah.
Take me home.
We right next to a cornfield, so you never know how many mice might come in here at any given time. And, like, that's like a fear of mine. I'm like, I can't do that. Like, Mom, I'm living wild out here, like, trying to do this. And she's like, well, let's see if we can figure something else out. So the school, they went back and they found a host family for me, kind of like The Blind Side. I don't know if y'all seen that movie or not.
Blind Side,
yeah. So I lived with a family like that for like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Totally different situation.
Yeah, how was that for you, bro?
So that was like a big blessing for me because it set the tone for like what I wanted out of life. Because I never saw certain stuff as attainable, like unless I played basketball for the rest of my life, right? So I'm like, if I don't make it to the league, I ain't gonna be able to get this type of house. I ain't gonna be able to get this type of car. I ain't gonna be able to do none of that because I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Grove.
Exactly, right? So I'm like, no matter what, I ain't going back home. Like, I don't want to do that. Ain't nothing there, right? So I'm looking at them. He was a real estate guy, stay-at-home mom. First time I had ever seen that. Crazy house was crazy, and I don't want to disrespect them and call them rich, but they was rich in my eyes, and probably in the eyes of the IRS too. So, they, so I saw a different type of life. But what I saw too was like he came home from work every day, talked to his wife, they had conversations, the family sat down for dinner and stuff. Like I never had that,
right?
At least not consistently. And just kind of seeing even the school itself. Like I'm going to school with people who their grandfather, used to own Budweiser or something like that, or like the CEO of Kraft Cheese is like his daughter in my math class, or like stuff like that. So they got a different life. So when I say things ain't going well for me, they like, nah, that's like borderline poverty to them because from where they come from. So it was kind of like a sharing the culture a little bit too. So it kind of helped me to kind of grow and kind of say, all right, I can do this, or I can. If I meet these people, it kind of was my first introduction to like networking, right?
Yeah.
To kind of seeing, what was what. But it was good. It was a great experience, and then I was able to bring my brother on into that space too. It didn't work out, but it was the first thing to kind of reach back and say, all right, I've done enough here at this point. So if I got to stay, I want Chris to come too, right? So it was kind of like that, and I don't want to leave him in Westmoreland, and I'm out trying to do this stuff, right? So. Unfortunately, grades-wise, it didn't work out for him, but it worked out long term. But
so for those who don't know, who is your brother?
So Chris Johnson is my brother. I don't know if I don't think anything, even if we came out the womb together, it wouldn't make us no closer, right? So I feel like at every turn we've been able, even like to this day, we talk every day. About life, about kids, about basketball, and it's crazy because he's accomplished more in the game than me at this point. But for him to still ask me, for advice and what I think and things like that is kind of humbling. Because he's like, oh, what would you do right here? Or what you think about this move or whatever? And I still kind of train him sometime in the summertime when he's around. Or last fall, we spent probably like 3 months together just working on this game, working on some different stuff. So our relationship is a special one, man. So I don't, it ain't happened the traditional way, but, I'm thankful. So if I ain't never thank my father for that, I'm thankful for that. To have like a built-in best friend, I'm always grateful for that.
That's what's up. So your brother Chris, he a hooper too, huh?
Yeah, so I'll let him do his own interview at some point and tell you more about him. But for him, he played in the NBA, I think 5 years.
Yeah.
He's been just about everywhere.
Who's
overseas.
better? Who the better player, man?
So we
put it on the record. Who the
we
better?
don't like to answer that question. We usually don't, and I won't now. But if I had to answer at this point, him, right?
When y'all was kids,
When we was kids, it wasn't even close.
it wasn't even close.
Nah, even in college, it wasn't close. Because he was still trying to figure out who he wanted to be as a player. But he was kind of like one of them overnight dudes. Once it clicked, he took off. Like he became something else. And then once he added like a handle and the shot got a little bit different. Now you see the player that you see now all over the internet, whether it's 34 or 14 and 7 blocks and 2K numbers. Like, he's always been that, but he had to kind of get to it. And when he spent his time in the NBA, the game was still a little bit slower. Right. Where they was throwing it down, like when he played with the Blazers, they was still throwing it to LaMarcus Aldridge every time and stuff like that. Where fast forward, if he had to win in 5 years later, he probably still be there.
The big man was expected to be in the paint.
Exactly.
The big man was expected to be a big man.
Yeah, so it played.
Now you got Durant bigger than everybody.
Yeah, all his weaknesses was the things that they wanted to be his strengths. Whereas now, if he was in the league, like
he was before his time.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it would be a lot different for him now.
So what's some things that you feel like you accomplished at Notre Dame Academy? Like, what was you known for? What type of player would you be described as? Was you physical? Was you a shooter?
Nah,
a slasher?
So
did you have an attitude? Like what?
I had a little bit of that too. But,
you had your attitude at King George, huh?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think that again, a gift and a curse. Like I think it helped me to not accept certain stuff. So I've always been like a workhorse. Like I'm always gonna work. I'm always gonna shoot the shots. I'm always gonna whatever need to happen. I'm gonna lift weights. I'm gonna run. Whatever need to take place. But in terms of a player, like shooter is always the first thing that come to mind. Like that's always something I've taken pride in. And I was doing shooting drills and stuff when I didn't really know what they were. Like I was just trying to get better. Then I had a coach named Ben D'Alessandro who was at JMU. I think he coached at Clemson and a couple other schools too, but he gave me some worksheets that had like these are older players like John Starks and Reggie Miller and all that. So he gave me like this little file. And I ain't had no trainers or nothing like that, but I would be out back setting up the chairs and all that, putting the ball in the chair and grabbing it out and doing all of that stuff for hours at a time. So that little pamphlet of information that he gave me, I think I had like 12 or 13, it changed my life.
Yeah. So in any state championships and
state championships, I got one.
What year was that?
2004.
How did it feel? How was it? Like, did you feel like you got the Dorito off your shoulder? Or?
A little bit, but at that level, it's a little different, right? So at the private school level, they got like Division 1, 2, 3, and we were Division 2. It's just based off kind of like 1A, 2A, kind of like this, based off school size, and then I think it's like the number of boys you have in your school or whatever. So at a private school, it's a little bit different, but we were in the state tournament every year I was there. My first year, we were leading on our senior point guard who ended up playing at Florida State. He just had a bad game at the wrong game, and we came up a little short. My junior year, same type of deal. We just kind of ran out of gas toward the end. So my senior year, I was like, I'm not leaving here without one. Right? So I'm on a mission all season long, and I break both wrists right before the state tournament.
Your wrist?
Yeah, so both. So the left one was first, but I'm like, I can still shoot. I'm good. I'm going to keep playing. I went for a dunk. The dude undercut me. I tried to catch myself. I broke the right one.
Dang.
So I'm in cast, but I'm like, I'm a senior. I'm still playing.
You still playing?
Yeah.
With 2 broke wrists?
So
you having a Kobe moment?
Yeah, a little bit, right? So I sat out. I only sat out one game that year, and that was against Oak Hill, and that was a game I just couldn't play. So I was in like a hard cast. That's when they had like Rondo and who else was on that team? Josh Smith was on that team. A bunch of those guys. They was just really good. They were really
You was playing
good.
against Rondo?
So I didn't get to play against Rondo because I didn't play in that game. My first deal against Oak Hill was my sophomore year. We played them when they had Carmelo.
Yeah, you strapped Melo up?
No. No. Right. So
you got him though, right?
The first I scored a little bit, but they do. I'm gonna say this now. I don't know if it's still the same, but they do a lot of cheating at Oak Hill, right? So they had this dude. that went to Wake Forest, Justin Gray. So he shoots a three. They had this big guy named Sonny Ibrahim. He goaltends the shot, he dunks it, gets fouled. They gave him the 3 points for the 3-point shot and put him on the free throw line. No. So it was the craziest thing I ever seen. But they were really, really good.
So Melo was really light. It wasn't hype.
He'll talk to you too. I got switched on him one time in the post. He was like, "You guard me," and I'm like, obviously my pride, like, yeah. And on the inside, I'm like, he's 6'8", 220. I hope they don't get to him this time, right?
Yeah.
But you get caught up in the competitiveness of it, but it kind of lets you see where you at, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of grew up playing against some guys in the ABCD camp. I don't know if y'all familiar with that. So that was like the top 200 high school players in the country. Right. So they would bring us out in the summertime. Players would be on one side of the gym. So just imagine like a high school gym full of like players and spectators, and the whole other side was reserved for college coaches. Right. And it's full. So you see everybody, the Tom Izzo's, the Mike Krzyzewski.
Coach
like,
K's.
Yeah, they all in it.
Yeah.
And I had never seen nothing like that before.
How did you do?
So my first year, I thought like I went in. So this was my humbling moment, right? I thought I'm good, like I'm nice.
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna do my thing. And our point guard twisted his ankle or something, so they moved me to the one. I've never played the one in my life. Right. So the first dude I'm guarding is Raymond Felton. This not fat donut Raymond Felton. This like in shape about to go to UNC Raymond Felton, right? Yeah. So I've never been ran past that fast in my life on a regular basis, like.
No.
Yeah, so it let me know like I'm good for around the way. I'm better than the average player, but I ain't there.
Yeah.
Right? So it gave me something to work towards. So I was thankful for that. But by the next couple years, I thought I should have made the All-Star game once or twice. But I felt like I had a pretty good run.
What year was that? Like that was your senior year, or?
So my first year going was 2002. So I think I was a sophomore. That's the year that whenever they show LeBron and he got like the rough looking fro.
Yeah.
And he got on like the blue and gold jersey. Yeah. I was there that year that he was.
You saw LeBron before he was
killing.
Before he was the king.
So
is it real?
Nah, I told my mom. So I never talk about other players. Never. Yeah. So I couldn't wait to get back home. Like, Mom, there's this dude out there from Ohio. And she was like, "What?" I was like, "Nah, your mom gonna be your mom." I'm like, "Nah, Mom, he was unreal." She was like, "Baby, you just as good as him." I'm like, "Nah, nah, I'm not. Like, I feel what you trying to do. I appreciate you, but like, nah, like he was something else.
Like, Mom, I love you, but this is that ain't the time. Don't stop lying, Mom.
I appreciate the positivity, but I ain't nowhere near as good as him."
So you knew he was king before they crowned him.
Yeah. And I think I try not to be biased when people having to go debates and stuff like that too. But to be,
I'm gonna ask you. You ain't got to answer right now, but we gonna get to it.
Yeah, but to be that dominant for that long, and I'll throw this out here. I think he's averaged 27, 7, and 7 or 8 since high school to the NBA. So he skipped college from high school. I'm putting up the same numbers in high school.
Yeah.
I'm putting up the same numbers in the NBA. And right now I'm 38 years old and I'm doing the same thing and it's more. I'm averaging more at 38. Like that's impressive.
Yeah. It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, that's
So LeBron is the GOAT. That's what you're telling me?
I think he's the greatest. He's had the greatest career and the best.
I mean, you ain't gotta put the suit and tie. Don't dress it up. Is LeBron the GOAT or is not?
Yeah, I think at this point you would have to say that he is. But it hurt me to my heart because I'm a Kobe fanatic, like to the core.
I'm a Kobe guy too, bro.
And Kobe, I always say this: he's the most skilled basketball player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like in terms of fundamental, like the great, like good players have like fundamentals, right?
So you putting Kobe over Jordan?
In my book, yes, but I've always felt like that.
Don't shoot them, y'all.
They hate me for that, but there's no secret. I feel like I've been saying that since like 04, 05, since I was in high school. I've always felt that way.
Yeah.
Just doing the eyeball test. So we can get into it later, but yeah, that's
how you feel.
We can finish it now.
That's how you feel. So
yeah, that's 100% how I feel. But I feel like this, and we can move on. But when it was Jordan, right? Nobody said, well, he got Bill Russell has more rings, right? Kareem has more MVPs and all that other stuff. But you can look at the game and tell that Michael Jordan is better than all these other people.
Right.
Whenever you look at the game and you say, I think that guy better than Mike, they always say, well, Mike got 6 rings. He went to the finals 6 times and didn't lose.
How many rings Robert Ory got?
And here's what I always say.
Nobody talk about him.
Here's what I say. Scottie Pippen got all the same rings Mike got. Every single one. All the same ones.
Facts.
He actually has more playoff wins than Michael.
Facts.
Don't none of LeBron's teams got it. They don't got the same rings.
It's hard to argue with that, man.
He went to people, and they always forget that Michael went and played for the Wizards too. Like that count.
Yeah, they act like that don't count.
That count.
They want to forget. They want to forget about that.
Yeah, but nobody was saying, he got to get to the finals. He got to win a championship. Y'all on LeBron's
No
head every year. He got to go to the finals. Like,
yeah.
At what? At 40, you still want to go to the finals? So that's my. I get off that soapbox. But yeah, I could talk about that all day.
I can't agree more. So when y'all come for him, come for me too. I'm gonna let him talk to y'all though.
Yeah, especially on the Kobe thing. On the Kobe thing, I'll talk about that all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at Notre Dame, you got a ring. You got a state championship, huh?
Yeah.
You was player of the year.
Yeah.
In the state.
For Division II, the independent schools, yeah, in the state.
How did that feel for you? Did it feel like was it a we made it moment, or was it?
I just
like,
wanted to win a state championship.
You was looking for the next. You was ready for the next.
I wanted to win a state championship so bad. So when I left King George, I think they went to the state championship in like 2003.
Yeah.
And they lost.
And if they had
so
you,
the whole thing, that's still to this day the conversation. Like,
so the teammates
had Joe been on the team, we would have won.
Did the teammates have that beef with you? Like,
yeah,
bro?
so they was like, and again, I told you I went to college with Didi. So he like, we used to talk about it, especially like my freshman year. Like, man, if you had been on that team, we would have won. We would have like, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But I knew at that point I had to get one. I'm like, because if I don't get one, I'd be like, man, I should have stayed and got, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. So I was like, and I wanted it to have it because they used to hang them in the school. So I'm like, when you come back into school, you're gonna have to see my name.
Yeah.
I can say I did that. I put that banner right there. I did this. I did that. So that was like a big moment for me. Getting player of the year kind of put the icing on it. Then having the school like give you my jersey at the end of the year. So I think that was big. My coach, I had like a graduation party. He came to the party and they kind of presented it then. I thought that was cool and a great gesture from them. And just, I mean, even now, 18, 19 years later, to have people still kind of talk about it. They had like a little mini reunion or whatever, and people were like, I remember you used to do this at the games and point at this person and do this and do that. And I'm like, that, it kind of feel good. You know what I mean? So just kind of go back for a second and kind of put it in perspective.
So the team accomplishment meant more to you than, the individual accomplishment.
Yeah, and I feel like I kind of always been like that. I think and you kind of see it now becoming like a trend in the NBA, right? If your team winning and our stats are similar, or my stats can even be better, my team ain't winning the same, I ain't the MVP.
Yeah.
Right? So if I can put up these numbers and I can win, you can't argue.
Yeah.
They'd be like, he averaged 40, but his team's sorry. Like, yeah, they are. So you can't really say nothing. So for me, I think I kind of always understood that. So I'm like, if we winning, that's what made college so hard for me.
Yeah.
Was the losing. Like, it wasn't even, had I had the same struggles I had and we was winning, I think I'd have been okay.
Yeah.
But when you had them same struggles and you losing, it's worse.
Food
tastes worse. Like you don't have the same pep in your step walking around. Like it's not fun. It take all the fun out of it.
Yeah. So as far as when you was in that part of your high school career with Notre Dame, what type of offers and stuff were you getting for the collegiate level? Like, was you getting the letters that you wanted, or was it disappointment, or did you always?
Nah. So I going into my senior year, my offer list wasn't what we anticipated it to be. And I didn't have a bad summer, but the difference was when people saw me at the high school level, they saw me do everything because my coaches kind of gave me like free reign. And I never played with bad players there. Like when I played, we had anywhere between 4 to 7 other D1 players. Like my high school team was bigger than my college team.
Right.
Right. So we got import guys from England and Ireland or whatever. They 6'10", 6'11", whatever. Like that's who I'm playing with. So it was just trying to figure that part out. But like in the summer, I also played with really good players, but I was a shooter. So all they wanted me to do was shoot.
Yeah.
So
did they want you to catch and shoot, or
yeah,
did they want
catch
you to
shoot.
create?
So
and shoot?
it was always coming off screens and stuff like that. And at that time, I couldn't really create my own shot.
Yeah.
So I had like a couple of post moves, and that's because me and Chris used to play like 1-on-1 to 100 and stuff like that. So like to make it fair, it would be like, you know, we'd play in the post a little bit, or we'd go back and forth, play 1-on-1 like full court.
1-on-1 to 100. Hold up, 1-on-1 to 100.
To 100. So I had two friends I used to do that with
Dang.
when I was growing up. So my brother, and I had another friend that got killed when I was in college. Brother got arrested. So Jemiah. So me and him used to be outside playing to 100 every day.
Yeah.
Like fouling each other, pushing each other, like all of that. But it helped. So for me, it was like I wanted to be able to do everything. But in the summer, like our team was so good, and we was playing in these tournaments where this is when teams like the Atlanta Celtics had like Dwight Howard, Josh Smith, and the Randall kid, Randolph Morris. He went to Kentucky. So they had those. That was like they starting like three. They had Brandon Rush on that team. All of them played in the league.
Yeah.
Right. So these are like.
It was a goal, man.
Yeah, this is like AU teams. Just like they like super teams.
Yeah.
Kind of. But we had teams like that too. So it wasn't the Joe go out there and do your thing show, or you know my homeboy Al Weber out of Louisiana who played at Alabama. Like you can't play the same way out here that you play at Mount Zion because you got Joe, you got Glenn, you got Bombali Osby to play at Maryland. Like these dudes is all my teammates.
Yeah.
Right. So we had to try to change the game to try to help us win. So I didn't do a lot of one-on-one stuff. I didn't have a whole bunch of plays for me. I had 4. Right, so we ran the play. I shot the ball. If their team was in zone, they probably wasn't going to be in zone long with me and Glenn Dandridge on the sides. Like nobody played a zone, right? So it just kind of depends. So it kind of messed with my recruiting a little bit. So teams that was looking for, like I said before, like the black JJ Redick type dude, like all those schools loved me. But the teams that was looking for like a pure scorer, it was like, well, he not that. He just a shooter, right? Yeah. So it kind of messed it up. So down the stretch, it was West Virginia, Virginia Tech, JMU, Duquesne. Penn State came on late. I met with Tom Izzo at Michigan State, but they had just got Shannon Brown, so it didn't make sense.
Shannon Brown at that time
was like the guy.
He was him.
Yeah. So they got him. They got So those are like the ones I was really considering, and Wake Forest. So Wake Forest is like what I had my heart set on going because I wanted to play with a good point guard.
Yeah.
So they had Chris Paul, Justin Gray was already there, and I'm like, I'm gonna be open because Chris gonna pass the ball. Justin Gray is on the other side, and he can flat out shoot. So if I'm on the other wing, like
you
can't
run it
help.
up.
Yeah, you can't help. So I'm like, I'm thinking through it like that, right? So the year before, I think it's every 2 years you get 8 scholarships. So the year before, they had used like 7. So they only had 1 for the class of 2004. So they recruited me and 2 other guys out of North Carolina. Yeah. One of the guys happens to be my AAU teammate who's from North Carolina, who lived 10 minutes down the street.
Hometown.
Who's there all the time. Yeah, exactly. So he goes to like the Midnight Madness and he commits, and I'm like, I'm stuck. Right? So I'm in the room, I'm sitting in I'm crying, like hurt, because I'm like, I thought for sure like that's where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
So I'm upset, I'm like, all right, let's figure it out. So I go up to Virginia Tech for like a visit. Actually, Steve Swope took me up there.
Coach Swope.
To that visit. I think his son Joey went to school at Tech, and they took me to meet with the coaches and all that stuff. Like the same time they was moving him in. So that was good, and I always ask myself too: had I answered this question differently, would I have ended up there? So I walk in, I'm talking to the coaches, and they said, "Well, if we offer you right now, would you take it?" I made the same face you made right there. I made that same face, right? So I'm looking, I'm like, I gotta 5 visits. I'm trying to go to Hawaii because in my mind too, I seen the movie He Got Game, so I know what some of the visits gonna be like. Right, so I'm like, I don't know. I think I might take all 5, coach. I'm not sure. And Seth Greenberg was the head coach at that time. The coach that I was talking to is a guy named Eric Skeeters. So I actually still talk to him to this day. But I'm like, nah, I don't know. So I leave. I'm waiting to go to a visit at the University of Richmond because it's close. They take a guy that I know or whatever. So I'm like, man, this is the second time this happened.
Yeah.
So now I'm like super down, right? So I'm like talking to my mom. My mom like, why don't you just go to JMU? Like they wanted you before and you can do this. And I'm like, I don't know.
She felt like they'll do right by you.
Yeah. And then so when one of my best friends that I played with at Notre Dame had just gone there the year before. So I'm like, if he there, I know he can go. If they got 1 or 2. And then the guy who got the large following now, lethal shooter, Chris Matthews, he originally signed there too. So we were supposed to go there together. So I'm like, if Chris there, Cavell there, if I walk in, I think we might be all right. So obviously I'm overzealous. Like I think I'm better than I am. I'm like, I got Steph Curry dreams, right? But it's not really that. So I'm like, no, I think this could work. So, but I'm still mulling it over. I'm still thinking I'm at practice one day. We had Notre Dame, we had practice. And it's the last day that you can commit like early. And something happens to where like the bridge into the school gets like flooded and we had to stay there or whatever. And I'm like, maybe that's a sign that that's what I need to do. So I signed a letter of intent, I sent it back, right? So I end up going there. And the first years I get hurt.
Dang.
So I sit out the whole year, red shirt, I had a broke wrist. My wrist never healed from the high school thing.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, all right, I'm here and I'm working out, I'm doing all of that, but I'm like, it hurt. So he take me in there to see this the specialist at UVA. He just took his thumb and put his thumb on my wrist like this, and I screamed like crazy. He was like, yeah, you told me which bone it was and all this, and I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm in a cast from October to like March of my freshman year, and I'm like, I had an injury, do something that nobody else could do, like stop me from playing.
Yeah.
So my freshman year, my first college game ever was against Georgetown. And this one they got Jeff Green and Roy Hibbert. And I ain't played a game in a year.
Right.
So I get in, the game is moving so fast. Like, and I'm like, dog, and now I'm questioning, like, do I belong? Like, or have I, like, do I got so much rust that I can't do this no more? So we go in, and I get the ball. Like, on the break, I'm about to pass it, I lose it. And the dude goes to steal the ball from me. I don't want him to steal the ball and go dunk it. So I, like, grab him and, like, almost tackle him to the floor, right? So I'm like, my bad, dog. Like, I couldn't let you get that off, right?
Yeah.
That type of thing. But I'm embarrassed. So we go through the season. My last 5-6 games, I'm averaging 12, 14, 16, stuff like that I'm putting up. So I'm like, all right, going into the next year, I'm going to be all right. So that whole summer, I'm working. Sophomore year come, I know we playing Wake Forest, the second game of the season. So I got all my letters in my locker. I'm like, I'm going to make them wish they had picked me.
You want to make them pay.
Yeah, exactly. So we played them at 21-7 and 4 blocks against the ACC school. Right, so
21-7 and 4.
Yeah, 21-7 and 4. I think I was like 8 for 11 from the field. So I'm like, I shot, I want to say like 73% from the 3 over like our first 10 games.
Yeah.
And still wasn't starting. So I finally get my start. It's against Georgetown.
Yeah.
That was the first game that I think it was the first game I didn't score double figures. So I'm friends with Pat Ewing Jr. too, and he said, yo, our coach was just like, don't let you touch the ball. Like, that was the whole thing.
You was the game.
He was like, eventually, like, your coach going to take you out, because I think everybody kind of knew that there was like a rift. So it was like, if we make it frustrating enough, he'll take him out. Like, the coach will shut him down. We won't have to.
Yeah. Hold on. You said you would shoot 73% from 3.
I did for like 10 games. So like my first 5 games, I think I might have missed 1.
Dang.
I was just on one of those streaks like that's like unreal. You can't keep that
You was
up
on
all
fire.
year. Yeah, you can't.
73%.
Yeah, you can't keep that up all year. But I had worked so hard. That's something I was running every day. So you from the area, so you know what it's like. And we didn't live too far from each other in Placid Bay. I used to run from Placid Bay up on the hill in Oak Grove, all the way up to the top, and then turn around and run back. And I did that every day.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get to a point where I'm like, that's what's holding me back. These dudes is, I'm getting stronger, but I get tired too fast. So I'm doing it. So I'm trying to figure out what worked. And then I saw this video. This one like YouTube like kind of new.
Yeah.
This video, this dude holding like this sack of like flour or whatever, concrete, whatever, and he's jumping up the steps. And I was like, I don't got that. So I went and got a couple weight vests out of our weight room, and I started jumping up the steps. And then it kind of, every jump shot, like I felt great. It didn't matter where it was from, none of that. So I'm like, I think like I finally was in
That
shape.
helped you develop.
Yeah,
develop
it helped me
jump.
to kind of be. And I used to get in trouble for doing the stuff. Now it's like cool, like shooting from the logo and stuff. Like I've been doing that.
Yeah.
For a long time.
You was
now.
before your time.
Yeah. So like, yeah, and that's
You
why I
was
say
Steph
that
before
too. Like,
Steph.
just to show you the kind of no shade to the staff, but just kind of show you like how they would look at things is like Steph came on a visit to JMU.
Yeah.
So he comes in, he playing, and we got guys a senior. He's still in high school, right? I'm like a freshman or sophomore. He killing. I'm talking about killing.
Steph was shooting like that back then.
Shooting, going by people, crossing them. Like he ran the whole game. I'm like, what do I have to do to get him to come here? Right.
Yeah.
So they give you like money to entertain recruits or whatever. And he didn't even think we was seriously like taking him for real.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Coach, you gonna offer him? He's like, nah, he not really looking at him. I'm like, how could you not do that? And so they used to give us like the entertainment money, and like, I'm like, I'm about to just give it to him to see if we can like, and like not thinking that like his dad played in the league, he already rich. Like he don't really care about this couple $100 or whatever. Like, but I'm like, whatever. I need him to know that we want him to come.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
It probably was other reasons why they didn't. They probably felt like he already.
Yeah, but I mean, it would be different, right? So if he was looking at like a Duke or something like that, it'd have been different at that time. But Davison wasn't on nobody's radar, right? So, and we was in the CAA at that time where this is when the CAA was strong, when we had like VCU, George Mason, going to like the Final Four, Elite Eight, Sweet 16. And our team was just so out of sorts. So like the year that VCU beat UCLA and Duke, I think in the same tournament, we beat them that year. Yeah. But we'll lose to like Delaware and like schools we had no business losing to, right? Just because it was so like separate.
Play to your competition.
Yeah, exactly. We just wasn't on the same page. But you know, in hindsight, that's the one decision I wish I had over. Not that I love JMU as a school, as an institution. There's people.
But you wish you could have went to Virginia Tech. You would have much rather.
If I had to do over, I probably would have went to Penn State.
You'd have went to Penn State.
So I tried to. I actually tried to get out of my letter of intent to go to Penn State before I ever even stepped foot on campus. The coach who was in place at the time that I signed with, Sherman Dillard, had called me and said, you know, so me, Chris Matthews, I think there was another kid that ended up going to like Siena or something, that, you know, they already got out of their letters of intent. But the AD got kind of weird with me when it came to talk about you. And I understood it because I'm like, I'm probably the higher ranked guy, whatever. All right, cool, whatever. So they gave me like this whole runaround and made me wait until they signed another coach. So I met with Coach Keener, who was my coach at JMU, whatever. And I kind of liked him at first. He came from Georgia Tech. They had just went to the national championship games. I was like, maybe he gonna bring some winning ways with him, whatever. But I tried. So Penn State was where I wanted to go. I kind of liked their staff, and I think they had a better feel for me and who I was as a player. We played in this tournament up in Pennsylvania, and there was a kid that was going there, and we played against them. And the coaching staff is sitting in the front. It was all the assistants, though, not the head coach, so they sitting in the front. And I'm talking to them, like, in the middle of the game, like, this, y'all bringing him? Yeah. I'm trashing him. Like y'all want this guy right here. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, but I think from there, they kind of was like, oh, yeah, like, we need somebody like that. Yeah. And it was trying to make it happen. We just couldn't make it happen. But
So
if
how
I had to do over, that's where I would have went for sure.
so how did it feel like, I heard you say Coach Swope took you to the junior tech. And for those who don't know, Coach Swope, he a legend in his own right, Colonial Beach State Championship coach, trained the best of them, coached the best of them from the area. He a diehard V-Tech fan.
Mm-hmm.
So how did it feel did he know that you answered that question that way? When he see this, is he go?
No, because he was trying to be like kind of hands off, right? So
he
he kind of walked me in, and they had him like showing him different stuff. So when we walking around, you gotta remember like at this time, like Virginia Tech is they in the ACC, and one of my big bros was there that I play AAU with, but he was on the older team named Sean Harris. So he was telling me like, "Oh, like we building something, or whatever."
Right.
Like, he was talking about it, but they had like the bottom of the ACC,
Yeah.
and it's still at that time it was a football school.
Michael
Like,
Vick.
fresh off the Mike Vick, they got people like that. So we walking around and we really looking at a lot of the football stuff. Like they showing it. So when he asked me that question, I'm looking on the board and they got like this thing where they tracking people's verticals. And it's like, you looking at all these football dudes and it's like 44 or 42. And I'm like, ain't nobody on that basketball team jumping like that. Like one or two, not a whole board worth of dudes. But it was, the campus and stuff was cool, but it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Coach Swope would have been like ecstatic if that had happened, but like it never felt right.
Yeah.
So, but to be in the ACC when you looking to play beyond college, right? It's almost better to take that deal, right?
Yeah.
So if I can go to Tech or if I can be at Penn State, even if the same exact stuff happened that happened at JMU or whatever, like I'm in a better position to play
More
after and get more money and get whatever. So, when you come from a mid-major, you kind of got to prove yourself over and over and over and over and over. And you can be at Georgetown and be on the bench, and somebody gonna give you some money, and you're not even that good, right?
Yeah.
So, but they just paying you off the name.
Yeah.
Right? So like now, my message to my kids is now we're gonna go to the biggest school that makes sense. Unless you can go in there and be like a Steph or Damian Lillard,
be completely dominant.
like that. Yeah, but somebody got to give you the keys to do that. Like you can't be a role guy and do that.
Yeah.
So
what's one of your biggest games like at JMU? What would you say you felt like you just scorched them, torched them? What's the most points you scored?
it's probably like 20. So I think that the Wake Forest game was probably one of them. I would say my best overall game. I didn't even score a whole lot of points. Was the game where we beat VCU. I had a bunch of good assists that kind of led to like the winning plays and stuff like that, like guys hitting shots, and I made enough shots to be like a factor, but I didn't have like this crazy amount of points and nothing like that. It was probably like 12.
Yeah.
But I think that was the most. And I think I played really good defense that game too. So I think that was like my most complete game. Trying to think of what else stand out. We played George Mason in a tournament my sophomore year as well. We ended up losing that game, but I remember listening to the playback, and Lefty Giselle, who used to be the coach at JMU, was there, and he was like commentating the game, and he was watching. He was like, this Posey kid, like I don't know why he don't get more shots. So it kind of gave like validation to what I was saying. I probably had like 15, 18, and I shot really well, but I never got the ball enough to be like.
They never gave you the keys. They never said, Joe,
never
go
got
take
that.
us.
So even the
take
games
us
where
there.
if I had 18, 20, whatever, I probably shot 10 times.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Versus if somebody else, started another school or something like that, they getting 20 shots or something like that, right? Or it's different if you Devin Booker and you at Kentucky, you in the lineup with 5 horses, right? So they was bringing him off the bench. And if you're looking at productivity at the next level, who the best player? It's him. And you think Coach Calipari didn't know that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like college is different. It's systems.
Yeah.
Whereas if you playing like at a professional level,
they not caring about you. They
trying to keep their job.
Yeah.
Right. So and if I'm Coach K, I'm trying to keep my job too. If I'm any of them dudes, right? You gonna pay me millions of dollars to coach the game? I only gotta play.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. and it's job security in it, especially if you're at one of them blue blood schools. So I get it. And just like every player trying to move up, I understand the business of it too.
Right.
And I talk to kids about that all the time. Like, I want to play college basketball. Like, I was telling him before we started the interview, like, I had a company called 3P Basketball. We just shut it down to like revamp, right? And it's going to come out as FTF, which is follow through family, which is kind of like follow through like the jumper, but also like follow through on whatever your goals are and what you know, do what you say you're going to do, or like put you all into what you got going on. But I didn't want to make it so like basketball like centered. Like, so there's kids that have come through my program that are about to be like neurosurgeons and lawyers and stuff like that. Like, they just played basketball for a little bit and then they moved on, right? Or there's kids that I train that's at like high profile schools, like the PVIs. It's like ranked high schools. Like, there's, you know, I train players on that team that got 15, 20 offers, things like that. That they really want to play basketball. And I'm like, dude, like, I get it. No matter where you go to college, you hear LeBron, who he's done everything you can do with a basketball, right? Got every accolade, he talks about high school basketball a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's never the same. It's a business from that point on. Like, as soon as that ends, it's always something else. Somebody trying to get some money, somebody trying to keep their job, somebody trying to prove that they the best assistant coach, so they trying to put in the players that they recruited and weed out the ones that do. Like, it's always something else. Yeah. It's never like purely about basketball no more. So that's the point that I wish people would kind of understand and like kind of hold to. Like, the kids like now, I'm like, I can't wait to go to college. Like, yeah, you can.
Yeah. Have your fun while you can.
Yeah.
So what's some things like off the court, like did things off the court affect you on the court, or was you one of those players like on the court, your happy place, and you just go off like?
So I think that's what happened to me in college, right? So at any other point, basketball was like the refuge, right? If I had something going on, I ran to the ball.
Yeah.
When the ball and the stuff was happening with my coaches and stuff like that, I ain't had nowhere to go. So it was like, I can't get in the gym and go do nothing. It's a lot. Like, so that was my issue with being there too. So any coaches, whether it's college, whatever, if you see this, make sure your players got access to the gym at all times. But that's the biggest thing. So I turned to other stuff, whether it was girls, whether it was partying, whether it was, you know, drinking 3-4 nights out the week, you know what I mean? Like, and still going to practice, still playing the game, still doing all of that, like being functional, and really going through a point where I was like depressed.
Yeah.
I'm on a Virginia-based college team, but I'm the only kid on the team from Virginia.
Yeah.
So when we go somewhere and you don't play me as much as I think I should, or I don't get the ball, like, I'm the one with 20, 30 people in the family section. Like, you know what I mean? So it's
everybody
like,
travel to see you,
so,
and
so
then
they,
you like.
So they doing that. So like, it was a point too, like, I meant to look it up again, but at one point when you could first start Googling stuff like that. So if you Google Colonial Beach at one point, it used to say home of Joe Posey on it.
Yeah.
Right? So I always be like, yo, like, that's crazy. Like, I never looked at myself.
Put it
like
on the
that.
map.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it was like, I felt like I had something else to play for, and I think I put more pressure. So when certain things that I wanted to happen didn't happen, like, I ain't know what else to do. So it was kind of like just stuck. You know how that go. Like, you just get caught up in other stuff. So that was the only time I really wasn't in the gym working or wasn't doing nothing. I didn't even know if I wanted to play no more.
Dang.
At all. Yeah. So like that was like a hard place for me.
What was it that you wouldn't get the like the shine that you?
It wasn't that. It was like I got suspended from the team a couple times.
For what? What you do?
So I had a problem with male authority, right?
Yeah.
So because I ain't really had that. So if you say something to me in a certain way, I took it personal. I didn't take it player coach. I took it like man to man. Right. So I would respond like that.
What's some of the crazy things? Like, give me an example. Tell me your craziest story.
I'll tell you now. I hope my mom don't say nothing crazy because but like so me and my head coach, we in an argument one day, and I lied to him, but not intentionally, right? So the same thing that made us bond in the end made us kind of fall out, right? So I go to him I'm in a car with my brother and another friend of ours. A situation comes up about a weapon. I won't get super into it, but when it came down to it, it was mine, right? Now I'm still holding out until they make us get out of the car, and I see handcuffs on my brother. I'm like, oh, I got now it's mine, right? So we talk it off. We do all this other stuff. They go through, and it wasn't like it was nothing illegal. It was just the way that we went about it. So my friend was driving without the lights on, some kind of way. I don't know. Like, it was weird, right? So he gives consent. They searched the car, whatever. So it wasn't like I was trying to hide. It was just all happened real fast.
Yeah.
So I catch the little, concealed weapon.
Misdemeanor.
Yeah. So, but when you're in college, like, you kind of gotta tell that, right?
Yeah.
So when they send me things, so what happened was I had to forfeit the weapon. I had to do 250 hours of community service or something, right?
Right.
So I set it up, and I go to my coach, and I'm like, look, I'm gonna have to go do this at the practice at some point, right? So he's like, all right, whatever. So he's trying to, like, do what he do for me. He's trying to, like, finesse it for me. Like, I'm gonna put you with this person. They're gonna let you do it, and make it make sense.
Yeah.
But in him doing that, he had to ask me more questions, right? So I kind of, like, left it real vague.
So he ain't know nothing about.
So he ain't really know, like,
tell him
he ain't
lie,
know,
but you ain't tell him everything.
He ain't know all the details. But at the time that's going on, I know I gotta stay in his good graces, but I'm playing well. In my song, I'm playing really, really well. But I'm trying to get myself from being distracted by stuff, because at the same time, my father gets sentenced to 30 years.
Yeah.
Right? In the middle of all of that. So I got all this going on at one time. So
your
basketball
father getting
like,
the 30 piece and you catching the case.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, when this my situation gonna blow over, but this far me hugging on my father or whatever, or seeing him or dabbing him or talking to him outside the jail probably ain't gonna never happen again. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to process that too. And Chris is at LSU at this time, so I'm trying to, like, be the buffer between him and that. Right? So it's like, okay. So we go through it, season is cool, and then randomly he called me in the office one day. He says, you lied to me. Just starts the conversation like that. And I'm like, what you mean? I'm like, all right, so I tell him. So he has, like, an attitude for the rest of the year. So, like, my minutes and stuff start dropping. And it starts going downhill. So now I'm vocal about it. Like, we lost a game one time. I'll give you a perfect example. We lost a game to Seton Hall.
Oh, man. We played them in
Seton Hall. We Seton Hall up in New Jersey, right? So this is where, like,
that's a different
yeah, this is a college, right?
Yeah,
so, and they, like, big time. They in the Big East at the time. So we up 10 with a minute left and lose the game. Mm. And this is, like, the third or fourth time something like this happened. I'm like, dude, the same dudes who turn the ball over in practice is the same ones who turn it over in the game. The same people who don't set screens in practice is the same people that don't. But I'm, like, being disrespectful. I'm on the bus, like, yelling it, talking about it.
Oh, you driving in?
Like, yeah, y'all clowns. Like, y'all not coaching. Y'all not doing none of that. Y'all got these dudes that y'all want to play.
So
because
you want to really express, you the savage.
But it's not that, but, anybody who ever coached me will tell you this, like, if it makes sense to me, I'll run through the wall for you. Day after day after day, but you got to make it make sense. So if I say, yo, why would we do that? And they trap every time we do that. And you can't answer that, and you just get mad, that let me know you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Because
you see parents do that. And then they like, your kid asks you a question, and you're like, why? They don't know why. Shut up and just do it because I told you. Like, that's because they don't know.
Yeah.
And nobody like to be called out. So that was my thing, and I would speak on it all the time. But, like, it came to a head. The last game I ever played in a JMU uniform, we in his office, and he was like, when I see you, all I see is a prima donna with a lot of talent, blah, blah, blah.
Not the prima donna.
Yeah.
Bro.
So when he say that, that's all I heard after that, like, prima donna. I'm like, and at the time, I'm looking at my coach, probably 5'10", $160. Yeah, so I'm like, so I walk up on him, and, like, you can see, like, the room is, like, got a, like, shadow. So when I walk past the lamp, it kind of got dark, right? Right. So, and I'm up on him, like, is that what you see? Like, that kind of. So then our point guard hears us. He knocks on the door, like, yo, like kind of like say, I was like, I really was thinking about doing something.
You was
to
about
him.
to
Like,
pick him up by his
yeah,
armpits.
like because I felt like I was so frustrated with him.
Yeah.
But the crazy part about it is I liked him.
Yeah.
I didn't like the people we had, some of the people we had around him sometimes because like I felt like they didn't support it. And I think too he was trying to find his way and I'm trying to find my way. And now that I'm older, I'm like, we could have figured that out. I think we both kind of missed the opportunity, you know, at that time to kind of, for me to be the player I wanted to be and for him to be the coach. Because X's and O's, he was great in terms of like figuring stuff out and like knowing the game, his knowledge of the game. But I think in terms of managing different personalities, which is really what coaching comes down to sometimes, he's really bad at it.
Yeah.
And I think just me being so vocal and always having the freedom before to be able to say stuff with no real consequence. But I think that comes with like relationship. Like even like now I got kids. I got 2 sons that biologically aren't mine, right? But if I didn't have a relationship with them, I couldn't discipline them, right?
Yeah.
So if I just came in and was like, y'all do this and do that, like this dude don't even know us. He don't even like us. He just be telling us to do stuff.
They'll punch you in your stomach like
Yeah,
this.
yeah. But since I got a relationship with them, and they've been with me now for 6 years, like I can do that because they know it's coming
respect.
from but it's coming from love. And I'm teaching you this now so you don't get pulled over when you're 16 and something happened to you because you don't know how to respond.
Yeah.
Right, those type of things. So I don't know. It's just a missed opportunity, man. So and that's not at my heart. That's not really who I am. But I felt like different situations like bring stuff out of you, and I felt like at the time my back was against the wall, and I was like, "This is what I'm gonna be." And I think being in survival mode sometimes is one of the most dangerous places you can be.
Yeah.
Because you're not thinking rationally. You're just thinking about I got to get to tomorrow. Or I got to get out of this situation. And I think that's how people end up in bad situations. Some, whether if it's like on the streets thing, it goes a little bit further. If it's in business, you could lose your job or you could lose your company. But as an athlete,
life and death.
And as an athlete, it's life and death too in terms of your career. Right, yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So, you had it. Hopefully y'all patch things up or whatever. So what happened after that? Like after JMU?
So after JMU,
how many years were you there?
I was there for 4.
4? You did all 4?
So I had a year left. I went down to Atlanta for a year when I left there. So it used to be SPSU, and they merged with Kennesaw State. So it's known as Kennesaw State now. I went down there and played for a year. And that space is where I kind of fell in love with basketball again.
Yeah. So it was a bad breakup with JMU when you left?
Yeah. So before I graduated, we got a new coach. So that's when Matt Brady came in.
Yeah.
I met with him a couple times, but I felt like the stories that he was hearing and the things that he was saying, like he kind of had a picture in his mind. But the thing that helped me was he knew me from before. Like, so he saw me playing high school. He was like, and I sat down with him. He was like, I know you can score. Like, that's not the question. My thing is, me as a new coach, I almost got to kind of like clean house because of some of the things that you've done or whatever. And he was like, well, what you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. I think leaving probably the best thing. But outside of basketball, and I'm thinking, I got like 3 classes left before I graduate. So my plan was my 5th year, since I sat out there, it was to only play basketball my last year or start grad school. Like I was already kind of thinking that.
Yeah.
But I was like, nah, I really want to play. So I'm gonna leave. So he helped me kind of like find like a new spot. So I went and kind of opened up the recruiting process again.
So you had to leave to play?
Yeah. So if I wasn't gonna stay there, I had to transfer. And the D1 route was out at that time because you had to sit out a year, and I had already redshirted. So it wasn't like it is now with you got kids transferring every year and playing right away. So if it was that landscape, I go wherever, and stay at the D1 level. But I went out there, played for a year, had a great year.
So why couldn't you stay at JMU and play?
It was more so. Again, it was more.
It was
like,
just you didn't want to.
Yeah, it was.
You wanted
Even
to
it
first
was
start.
him too, like saying like, okay, if you stay, like I'm gonna have to. It might be tough, just because of what they're gonna expect. Like he's coming in as a new.
You
coach,
already ruffled too many feathers.
Yeah, exactly. So I had already kind of burned some bridges and made some people rub some people the wrong way. But it's full circle. Like the blessing in that was being able to kind of go back a little bit and talk to different people and kind of get them to like see and meet me and talk to me one on one and things like that. And they like, you not who
You not the
they
angry,
say.
you not the angry
I'm
player
like,
that you
I ain't never been
with
that.
the
I'm just
attitude to
that
try
at
to
those
kill everybody.
times. Yeah, you can't take that's
It's
any person.
situational.
Yeah, you can't take one or two or five, situations where
And define
somebody,
somebody.
because if I did all these great things, right, and I did all these things right, why does these couple incidents, why does that define who I am, right?
Yeah. And then they ain't even looking at the reason why you did what you
Exactly.
did. Like,
Right. So them not knowing. So I went there, played well.
you played well. You was the standout. You was him.
Played well.
Did they give you the keys?
So when I first got there, I'm thinking it's a little bit of a lower level, but you got guys like myself who got into situations at D1 schools or whatever. So you had guys in that league from Georgia Tech, from Georgia, Auburn, whatever. Like, so they can play. Like, they just, whatever their situation was, their situation, right? But I'm out there and I'm thinking, I don't know none of these dudes. Yeah. I ain't talked to them. I'm out here to get numbers. So our first couple games, I ain't passing. I ain't doing. I'm trying. Like our first couple scrimmages, I'm putting up 40, 36, and I'm like, I'm not passing nothing.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to get these numbers up so everybody knows it's not a fluke, right? But as you kind of get to know them, like I don't even think one of my teammates told a story to my wife. Like I didn't talk for 2 months.
Hey.
I say nothing to nobody. So I'm like, yo, like how did I fall so far from grace? Like how am I here right now? Like how did this happen?
So you was angry. You was an angry Joe. You had something to prove.
But I was just mad at myself. Like I wasn't blaming nobody else. I wasn't blaming. I was just like I could have handled this so much different, or I could have did something different. But like now what? So I'm like, all right. So when I went down there, I ain't take no car. I ain't take nothing. I ain't even have a TV at first. I'm like, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna go to class. I'm gonna come back.
Yeah.
So like that was the whole plan. So I get there and then end up kicking it with a couple dudes that I still talk to on a regular basis now, and I got like real family in Atlanta right now, like real family, like shout out to Bankhead, my family on Bankhead. I love y'all. They real people, right? So I kind of was able to kind of be in that space and just again like fall in love with the game again. So I leave there and start trying to play professionally.
Yeah. How was that for you? Like, what was your move after that?
So the hardest thing about that is like trying to get on and not being a D1 guy. Yeah. Right? No more, right? So it doesn't matter if you played there before or not. They trying to looking at where did you just come from, right? So it's like trying to prove that your numbers matter. Right. So I worked out for, at the time it was still the D League, so I worked out for like the Utah Flash a couple times. I worked out for Bakersfield Jam and the Clippers like twice. Thanks to Chris, I got to work out with the Blazers 3 summers. And the last summer that I thought that I was in the best shape of my life, this is actually the summer I stopped playing basketball. I was waiting on that call. So I was like, I done figured it out. I know what I need to do. I know what type of shape I need to be in. I know what I need to, like, I know what this should look like. I know what they're looking for.
What year was that?
So this was the summer of 2014.
2014.
Something like that, 13, 14. So I'm like, I'm in great shape. I'm like, and that's what I think that's the part that still gets to me a little bit too, is I don't think I ever got to play at my peak.
Yeah.
So I think that's like where a little bit of regret come from. But I finally was able to get on after not making it to the bigger leagues. I played in South America for a little bit, Peru, Argentina, some of those places.
How was that for you? Like, what's the experience?
It was good. Like honestly, if Peru paid more money, I would have never left.
They treat you like a king over there.
Like yeah, so the team that I was with there for a while. Kind of like the situation I was telling you before, like earlier before we started filming, it was like you kind of it's owned by it's like a resort almost, or like a country club. So when I walk out of the room, it's like the ocean. It's like people who like pay to come in there and they do their thing or whatever, and it's kind of like being a part of like this extravagant gym almost. But like people are there and they bring their families and stuff. They playing tennis and eating snacks and kind of hanging out. So during the day, when we go work out in the morning, I had a teammate from California. We would go work out in the morning, and we didn't practice until like 9 at night. So all day we just chilling.
Yeah.
So we started going around in the city, and then it kind of let me know in perspective too, like where we was at. Because like within that space, everybody looked like they had money, had
When you
they
go
was
outside
having.
that resort,
When
it's
you go
savage.
outside of there, you start going around, you drive 10, 15 minutes into the city, there's people smoking crack on the street or doing drugs, they homeless, they building huts, they doing all that, and you feel
When they saw you out there, did they?
yeah, and they don't feeling bad, yeah. So they would come like the kids would come like see you because they know why you there. Like they ain't nobody that look like me just from there, just walking around. So they know why you there. They know you play basketball. They know all of that. So they trying to take pictures with you. I've had people like try to pan their babies on the bus and like take pictures with their kids and little kids trying to tap your pockets because they but it's like.
What about the women?
So look, now we talking this and my wife ain't gonna be mad because we've had this conversation and I've said this to people before. So I don't know why. Maybe it was just I can only speak on Lima, right? Some other places improve, right? But there's no like middle ground, right? So just like it's no mid, you either poor or you got a lot. The women is the same way. It's either a 10 or she like a 4. Like there's no 6 through 8. Like none of that. You like she bad, or you be like nah, I'm good. like,
ouch.
Yeah, so it's two different extremes, but it's some beautiful people over there.
And they turned up. They like they trying to.
Yeah, I mean
that's what I always hear. They be like fascinated with black. They never seen a black man. They never seen dreads or a hair or somebody maybe your height, and they be like, "Can I touch you? Can I do this?" They like that for real. That's true.
Sometimes it just depends. Like the ones who spend a lot of time around the team, like you just like the American for this year or two, right? So they say Americans like the last couple of years come and play, be on the team, be part of all that. So they kind of.
I'm talking about when you go like to the trenches.
Oh
when
yeah,
you go
you
in
walking around here and I don't think the people like the players prior to us had really done that because they was looking like nah, they really be out here like walking around and taking pictures and like doing all that. So you get. It's a lot of love there, but it's different too because it kind of when I get back home, you start looking at it like yo, I'm a little bit more grateful for the stuff that I got.
Yeah, right? Sure.
And it's no like comparing or competing. You know what I mean? Like over there, it's just kind of like everybody content, and then a lot of people don't got a whole lot, but they good. Like they happy, they not complaining, they not. I feel like that's the social media effect too, right? Like everybody looking, ain't nobody broke. If you look at Instagram,
is everybody highlight reel?
Yeah, exactly. Like ain't nobody broke, ain't nobody depressed.
They ain't
nobody
showing what their room look like. They ain't spinning the camera.
Yeah.
They
all
taking
that.
50 pictures and posting the best one.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a lot of that, but had it not been for my oldest daughter is now 11. So at that time she was like 2 or 3, and that was really what did it for me. Like not, so I'll tell this story too. So when I get back, one of the last times I was over, she's like, this is before like FaceTime and all that stuff was like a thing. So we like getting Skype, right? This is like Skype calls,
Skype.
right? So
we old, man.
Yeah. So she tapping my face, and I'm like what we doing? But she had gotten so used to seeing me in a computer screen that like she was like trying to figure it out. Like so it was a little bit of that, and it was the first time I kind of started the conversations about not being with her mother and stuff like that. So we was going through that, and I was like, I had a deal on the table to go to Australia, and I was really wanting it because I'm like, oh, okay, this is a different type of money, it's a different type of league.
Made sense.
Yeah, and this is what I want to do, but it's 13 hours away on a plane.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I do this, I'm gonna be gone for 9 months. My daughter 3, she talking and stuff like that. If I leave for almost a year, I ain't even gonna know. If I keep doing that, she ain't gonna really know me.
Yeah.
And I shut it down.
Man,
and it was one of the hardest things I had to do because up until that moment, like I love the game more than anything. But up until her, I was like, nah. And like all those feelings, I guess you're supposed to feel as a dad. Like I ain't have them right away. It took a little bit. But then I was like, nah, I would rather work on that relationship, even if it's at a distance, and figuring it out with her mom than go and play a game and not even knowing, I don't know her. And I didn't want that. So that was the biggest thing. But I I've had moments where I'm like, man, I could probably still be playing or whatever, but I don't regret it.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that was the end of the basketball.
That was the end of it. Like, so I've had
the end of the player.
Yeah. So I've had like little stints where they tried to do like the mixed gender thing like a couple years ago.
What you mean? Whoa.
So they had like and it wasn't for no big deal, but they was trying to start this league, so it was like Master
with
P.
the trans.
Nah.
No disrespect to that community, but I don't want no problems with the people.
So what they was doing was
no smoke. I promise.
They was having like WNBA players for guys like pros, like former pros and stuff like that in college, like play together. Right. So for myself, the team out of DC was like me, Mike Sweeney, who used to play in the NBA, played at Georgetown. Who else was on another kid, the other dude I can't call him a kid. He older than me, but he played at Seton Hall. But he played in the league too. I think he played for the Bulls. Natasha Cloud is with the Mystics. Yeah. And I think Tierra Ruffin Pratt, who was
a female hoopers, bro.
Yeah, so they had all of us playing together against a team out of Chicago. And we played the game at Howard University. And it was cool, but I don't think it would never took off in terms of like money-wise or nothing like that, just because it was so kind of all over the place. But it was a cool, so that was like one of the last like pro-ish games that I played in. And I mean, I think I was a leading scorer in that game too. So, yeah. I still get after it. You know what I mean? I went out to work out for the Big Three like twice the last 2 summers. The first year I played really, really well. Last year was so-so. I didn't play bad, but I didn't feel like I was where I was the year before. Yeah. Chris trying to talk me into doing it again, but we'll see. Yeah. So I started training.
Why not?
I started training for it like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So I'm not quite where I want to be, but I'll get there before May, June. So if the opportunity comes, then I'll be ready. Yeah. I played in the TBT last summer with some JMU dudes, and obviously that was weird too because like I'm way older than some of the rest of them. Like a lot of them still play like overseas or wherever, and I'm like, I just came up out my office and did this. I ain't trained for it or nothing. Like, so I'm like, if I had, like, I probably would have had a better showing.
You was out there.
I was like 1 for 4. I only shot like 4 times. I ain't play a whole lot.
Yeah.
I had my first almost on the wrong side of ESPN moment.
Oh, somebody almost banged on me.
Nah, I ain't banged on me. So I closed out. So the dude was like shot faking and driving every time. So I had been watching it. So I stay down, right? He makes a little move. Cut and I got on some new shoes, so I hit the joint.
New shoes.
Yeah, and it kind of slipped on me a little bit, but it wasn't the move. I started falling before he even made the move.
Did everybody say, "Ooh"?
Yeah, so then like the commentator they played it back and he tried to like make it crazy, but I mean I got did a little touch real quick and contested the shot. He missed the shot, so it wasn't a highlight, but that was the first time something like that really ever happened to me. I ain't really been dunked on nobody.
I was about to ask you, bro.
Except my brother. My brother's dunked on me a few times.
He dunked on everybody.
Yeah, when they 7 feet.
Oh yeah. Let me ask you this though. You got an older brother too that people around the area, they would argue that he was the best of the three.
They would be wrong in that argument, by the way.
They would be wrong?
They would be dead wrong.
Tell them a little about your brother. Juice.
Juice, that's kind of like where it started. I think he was the first person that I was like chasing. So him and I got another cousin named Albert Haskins that played at Washington Lee. So like when I used to run in Rail 2, so like I wanted to be like them. Like I wanted to kind of, and then once I got to a point where like I'm taller than them, I'm doing a little bit more than them, like I think I could be better than them, right? And that happened kind of early. Yeah. But Juice was like the first one that I was chasing. I'm like, but I wanted everything that came with it, right? Because so he kind of had like a little level of respect too outside of basketball, and I think I kind of got like attracted to that too. Like how do I get that? Like everybody, whenever they say my name, they talk about basketball. But how do I get? You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's an ignorant way to think. Like now that I'm older, I'm like that's dumb.
You're gonna be what you see.
Yeah. But it was kind of like wanting that different part. But he was really, really good.
So he wasn't the best for the record.
But yeah, for the record, he was not the best. I think,
in order, what is it? In order for y'all three?
I mean, in those three, he got to be last. And that's no disrespect. He's still above a whole bunch of other people, but in that with us three, and I only say that because I say at the high school level, and he only played at the high school level. I think he probably could have outside of some other things happening. You would have to say early on it was me, then Chris, then him. Now, in terms of everything that's happened and just the longevity of it and the accomplishments and stuff like that, Chris has to be first.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
Yeah, so, and I'm totally fine with that. So, like my biggest thing too is I tell my kids, like, if whoever go first usually take an L or two. Right?
Venus and Serena.
Yeah, so it don't matter. It don't matter even if you building planes, right? The first person that said I want to fly probably took an L, right? They probably built some wings that was made out of some leaves or something and jumped out of a tree and broke their leg, right? It's probably crazy. But so from here, like, I ain't had nobody to follow. So I was like just trying to figure it out. The beauty of it came with when Chris was able to kind of reclass. He was behind me, so we started off in the same grade. And then when I reclassed, he was a year ahead. But once he reclassed and then did the post grad, now I'm graduating in 2004. He graduated in 2005, so he's a year behind me.
Right.
So I was able to kind of say, don't do this, do this. Or if I had to do it over again, if this was this time last year, I would have done that. Or once you get to school, it might be like this. Don't get frustrated, do that. Or don't get mad at practice and kick the ball out the state. Like, don't do that. I just did that Tuesday day to get you 3 days at the crib. Like, don't do that. Like, those type of things. But I think just having somebody to kind of follow and kind of take the blueprint and kind of take what you like. It's just like watching players, right? If I like Kobe, but I don't got Kobe athleticism, I probably got to watch Paul Pierce or somebody like that and take something from their game. And like, it's just when you're trying to make it, whether, whatever it is, whether it's business, whatever, somebody can teach you something and say, this worked for me, but if I had to do it over, I would have done it like this. You're not going to start from the point where they failed the first time. You're going to pick up on what they did that worked. And like, it's going to be some bumps. Some of the stuff ain't going to work. But you're just going to have to keep starting over and over and over. And I think we've been able to kind of do that over the last, at this point, 20 years. Just trying to figure it out and trying to grow and keep it going. But for two dudes that's on the other side of 35 plus at this point, it's like, I'm good where I'm at. Like,
you still can hoop.
Yeah,
Big three, we coming.
Yeah, I still
2023 is it?
I still hand out buckets here and there, so some of the kids, it's good to kind of see them, and like even the kids that I train, like, coach, play me one-on-one. I'm gonna beat you before I graduate and stuff. I'm like, it's not gonna happen. But for me, I try to do that because I feel like if they get to the point where they can, they'll stop listening to me.
Yeah.
Right. So until I get old enough to I can't move and do none of that no more, I'm gonna still try to keep it going out there. And my kids, they just all of them starting to play for the first time, the older ones. So I think it's a fun time for me for that too. It's just kind of like teaching the game and breaking it down and things like that. And then children in general, right? Like the stuff that you say, they pick up on some of it, but everything they see you do, they do. The words you use, the things you do, like, so when I'm in the gym and stuff now, when I'm shooting or if I'm running or I'm working out, I take them with me. Yeah. Because then when I say, you need to go do this, they can say, well, you ain't never do that. Yeah. And I don't have to tell them a story about it. I'm like, you just saw me do that Thursday, right? Yeah. So now they get it. Yeah, man.
That's what's up right there, man. So let me ask you this. Give me a top 5, like, around the area. Hoopers,
hoopers or overall athletes?
Hoopers from the street people that never made it to the collegiate level or them like just raw. I'm talking about black top legends.
Top 5
from whoever.
I mean, you have to say, not including myself, right? I take myself out.
I knew you was gonna do that.
Yeah,
we're gonna do one with you, one without you.
Yeah, so
since you want
if you looking at, you got to go with the two guys who've made it to the highest level, right? So Justin and Chris got to be the top 2 on that
Justin
list.
Anderson,
Chris has to be the first 2 on that list for me. Harvey is definitely on that list for me. Harvey Thomas is 100% on that list.
He is a savage, but I seen him on that. Like, he's a savage.
He was different.
That's where it gets real.
Yeah, so I'll include myself. I got to be on that list.
All right.
And if we looking at this area, you looking at TT has to be on that list, especially as a high school player. TT has to be on that. TT Carey has to be on that list as well. And I like the other dude out of the Fredericksburg area too. I saw him like on the tail end, but not Rashard Kelly. I like his game too.
Rashard Kelly, I ain't really hip.
Him and there was another kid at Cortland that I saw that was cool. He played at Duke, Josh Harrison. But he didn't have like the flash and stuff. Like he was built for Duke, but I liked his game too. So those
that's the
those
top
guys.
7 right there.
That's the top 7. But the top 5, the first 5 is the 5 I'm going with. If I gotta pick up to play a pickup game, everybody in their prime, like I'm going with that first 5.
Everybody in their prime.
Yeah, that first 5, you take myself, my brother, Justin, a prime Harvey Thomas. And
Oh, that's tough.
TT, I'm good. Tough. I'm good with that.
That's tough right there. TT at the 1.
I don't know. He shoot too much. I might have to play.
He definitely.
Nah, I'm playing. Like
TT come down the court.
We both. I don't know if it's enough basketball, so both of us to be on the same team. But I would go to war with that 5.
Who the coach? Who will be the coach?
Eric Davis got to be the coach.
Oh yeah,
he got to be the coach. I'm biased. It's no slight to Coach Swope or nobody like that, but like Eric Davis, I've seen him do more with less than any coach around here. Like so, when he has really good teams, they go really really far. When he has mediocre or subpar teams, they still find a way to win 15, 16, 17 games. And he's been doing it for so long, and I've seen him get the most out of players too. Yeah. So I would have to say him.
Whew, that's tough right there.
We let Big Keith be the
Big Keith assistant coach.
Be the assistant coach.
Big Keith ready to get on top of you, boy. He gonna make you run. You gonna run until you blue in the face.
I like that too, because you need somebody too to not know the game, but also know how to deal with like people. And he a people person.
Yeah, Big Keith. Yeah. He been my coach since rec football. Like.
Yeah. So we'll throw him out there.
Then he big. You ain't gonna play with him. Like,
nah.
You can't play with him.
Nah, for me, that would be it. Like again, I like coaches. I've seen them do a whole lot with very little. I mean, eventually, if you're coaching for a certain amount of years, there's going to be a certain amount of wins, accolades to come with it, and things like that. I think Swope did a good job with that. But I feel like too, and it's just the philanthropist in me, like, that's not the right word because it's not a money thing, but in terms of helping other people and putting people in position to be successful, I feel like I wish he had done a little bit more of that. That's just me.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what's missing. It's easy to say this person made it, or this person made it to the NFL, or this person, or I coached this, or I did, to pick out the one. But what about the thousands of others that wasn't as good, or wasn't, what did you do for them?
Yeah.
Did you help them go to college? Did you help them? Did you introduce them to certain people to get in certain industries? Did you do this? Did you introduce them to a different level of education? Did you do any of that? And that's big for me. Or did you turn your back on them because they ain't making it as far as where you thought they should go?
Yeah.
That's I don't like that. But no shade, just
that's
stating facts.
That's how you feel, bro. We gonna keep it a buckhead at all times. At all times. But is it anything, what I'm saying, that you want to say, like anything about yourself, like that you feel like people looked at and might have labeled you this way or that way? You want to straighten, like, is it?
I ain't big on straightening out, but since I got the platform right now to do it, like, there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to me. Like, I think it's crazy when like people would say
Hold on, I ain't gonna lie, bro. All I ever heard was Joe this. He ain't do this and do that because his attitude and he don't want to listen to nobody. Like, you was just a knucklehead. Like you could have been the best player. You could have been LeBron James, but they say you this and that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I ain't been one LeBron James, so that wasn't never my ceiling.
I'm
right?
gassed.
But like I think a lot of times when people don't know, they kind of just go with what they say. So it's kind of like a game of telephone. Like if I tell you one thing, you tell somebody else and they switch it up a little bit. By the time we get to the 100th person, the story ain't nowhere near the same.
And back then, they couldn't really see. It wasn't that many cameras. You can't put a camera out everywhere.
Yeah, so it'd be like, he don't listen to this person. But for the majority of the people that coach me and stuff, they wouldn't say that. They would tell you that I'm extremely passionate about the game. I can be vocal, but at the same time, like I'm like the ultimate teammate though. Like if you going through something, I'm there. If you get in a fight on the court, I'm there. If you hurt yourself, I'm gonna be the first person to pick you up. I'm gonna do all of that stuff. But I'm the same way with my friends. I don't have a whole lot of friends, but if I call you my friend, like there ain't really nothing you can't ask me for, or nothing that I wouldn't do. But like I think the knucklehead thing or like the hard like attitude thing, I think when I was younger, maybe, but never to a point where it was like detrimental, like to a point where like it's like crazy. I don't think it was that. I think the craziest thing I used to hear was like he's arrogant or he's like stuck up.
I heard that about you.
Yeah, or he's stuck up, whatever. And the reality is
that's a light skin thing though.
Yeah. and the reality is though I'm shy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's not. I ain't talking to you because I'm not that. So if you're looking for the outgoing type, I'm not that. Yeah. Right. But if we sitting down talking like we talking right now, like, or I see you somewhere and we having like a real conversation, and you get to see something different. Like not to piggyback on it, but I remember when Justin Anderson had his first camp. He had an uncle that was there, and it came up. He introduced himself, and I was there, and he said. I forget his name. He was like, "You Joe?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I'm talking to him. So we leave the conversation. He said, "Man, I'm glad I got to talk to you for myself." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure you heard some things, some good, some not so good." He was like, "Yeah, a little bit of both." But he was like, "Talking to you, some of that stuff can't be what they say it was, you know." So it's like, cool. But you know, at that point, especially when I was younger, it was more good or bad. You talking about me, right?
Yeah.
So my name in your mouth, I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
Because you ain't talking about nobody else.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of where I left it. But yeah, before you say something about me, get to know me for yourself before you make a judgment. Like anybody that's close to me can tell you that, like, I feel like I'm a pretty good dude. Right?
Joe said don't play with him, bro. Don't play with his name.
Am I perfect? Nah, I ain't perfect at all.
That's a respect on him.
I'm a good dude.
So if you could say one thing to the kids, you know, upcoming hoopers, like just some advice, what could you get them, bro?
Be present in the moment, right? Sometimes we get caught up like thinking about what's next and things like that, and like just be present where you are right there in that time. Like this is what I need to work on. This like I might want to go to X university. I might want to do this in the future, whatever. But right now, right here, right now, that's the most important time, right? So what am I doing today that's going to set me up for that, right? So am I getting better every day, right? Not just as a basketball player, but as a person or whatever. Like what am I doing, and like how can I show it, right? So I can't just be like, I got better today. Well, what you do, right? Or if you have a game or whatever and you missing shots or whatever, like you got to go back and look at your body of work over the last, 10, 15 days and say, have I shot enough shots to be mad that I'm 0 for 5 today or I'm 0 for 10 or whatever? It's different to be frustrated if I've been doing the work and it's just not showing, right? That's real frustration. Yeah. But if I ain't put in no work, I don't have nothing to be mad about, right? If I don't go to work, I can't complain about being broke. I ain't did nothing.
Yeah.
Right, so that's kind of what I would say. Is like just be present, man. Just work every day and just don't be in a hurry to get to the next place. Just focus on where you're at right now. It goes fast. So whether you Michael Jordan or Michael Johnson, at some point the ball stops bouncing. So you want to look back on it and say, did I impact somebody else? At the end of the day, that's what people say. So when they say the stuff about me, or they say, Joe did this or he wasn't doing that, or he like. Look at how many people that you can tie to my tree that I had influence on. Like kids are still in high school, kids are still in college. Yeah. My brother, kids, like teammates that I've had that like I like worked them out or worked with them or whatever. They still playing or whatever, or they got their own training companies or whatever. You look at that family tree that came from me.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah, if I impacted that many people, that I can't be with, but so bad. And maybe the gift that I had early on or whatever, maybe it was never for me. Maybe it's for somebody. It could be from somebody else. It might be a kid who say, "My dad used to talk about you all the time, blah blah blah," and he the number one pick or whatever. Like so it's what you leave behind. So that for me, that's my focus.
That's a great thing, bro. You know what I'm saying? Make your next move your best move. I appreciate you coming through.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
We got a good understanding of everything.
Yeah.
And best wishes to you.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
You influenced a lot of people. You stamped this area, this whole community, bro. I remember being young, everybody wanted to be like Joe.
Yes.
Joe ballin'
I
in
hear
every
that,
county, bro.
that make me laugh, and that's funny that people say that. I don't fully grasp that. Like, that's crazy.
I felt it, bro. It's real life, man. But we gonna get up out of here.
Appreciate y'all.
Chestnut chucking.
Man, that's dope right there.
We did that.
I wanted to know.
I jumped up.
Somebody, I don't know if I had that on your phone or not, but somebody called.
Oh shit.
I put you on do nothing upstairs eventually.
Yeah, my joint was too, I thought.
That look good, bro. I mean, somebody called back to back, it's gonna come through either way.
That joint was alright. I feel like I had to
Bro,
learn something.
you need to have your own shit.
Nah.
Bro, you a great speaker.
Boy, you a hell of a speaker, bro. Hey,
You a great speaker. He barely, I mean, I don't even know when, he might have asked 5 questions.
Hey, and that was what I liked the most. I'm like, damn, it's easy for me.
When I was outside, I was thinking about it, like, damn.
Then he put the words.
What about Posey's opinion? That's the name of the show right there. What about Posey's opinion?
Posey says.
Not even